Having looked at some of the generic strategies, we're now going to look at a particular model of strategies, the growth share matrix. This was originally designed by the Boston Consulting Group and as such as a commercial matrix. And in fact, if you wish to use this for commercial reasons rather than for teaching reasons, you would have to pay a commission even if you could get permission to the Boston Consulting Group, as they hold the copyright on this particular matrix. The matrix is very simple. You simply have a 2x2 matrix making 4 sections, and on it you plot 2 things. You plot your market share, where you consider it to be low or high, and you plot your market growth, where you consider it to be low or high. Once you've done that, you can decide on one of the 4 areas that would stand within. Should you have low market growth and low market share, the product in question is known as a dog. Should you have low market growth but high market share, the product suggested is a cash cow. Should you have high market growth but low market share, the product is called a question mark. This is because you need to make a decision as to whether to continue with the product or whether to withdraw. If you continue with the product, if you invest cash in it, you will attempt to turn it into a star. If you decide to withdraw, you will accept that it is not going to succeed and you will become a dog. Those products that have high market shares and high market growth are called stars. These are obviously the products that are in many ways most successful. So what does it all mean? Well, the first thing you have to be clear about is that what we're talking about is market growth and relative market share. You should never attempt to put onto your Boston Consulting Group matrix companies' products based on what you feel their cash flow is, what you feel their earnings are, or what you feel their strategy is. This is a classic error that was repeated quite often in the seminars we've dealt with on this subject, but I put no blame on first year students for making that mistake, as I've seen it done regularly by consultants who are being paid to use the matrix and should know better. If you do that, this is one of the part of the problem we've talked about when we've discussed the social acceptance of the models and we've discussed the misuse of the models in the previous lecture when we were talking about weaknesses of strategic management based on economics. And the reality, of course, is that if you do that, the model becomes a prison and your ideas become trapped within the model. At this point, as we've said before, all models are wrong, some models are useful. If you follow the model in reverse and start placing things on the, say for instance, in the star, the question mark, the cash cow, the dog, based on such things as earnings or cash flow or strategy, which might be outcomes of the model has become a prison. We're locking in what you're doing already, and what you're supposed to be doing is the model is supposed to be being helpful in making you think and making you question. And therefore, of course, you have to be straight. Look at the market growth, look at the market share, make your decisions, place it on the model. Then and only then do you look at cash flow and earnings and strategies and make your decisions. The model therefore may be wrong, but it's been helpful if you do it that way round. Done the other way round, the model is wrong and it is not helpful, it has become a prison. This is one of the main errors that happen with all strategic models. It's also true that in the seminar that we had in which we discussed the Indian Tobacco Company, many people will have placed their products in different markets. If you look at the VLE, under seminars there are a number of pictures that show what it was that people actually placed these, and you'll see there are differences between different groups. This was based, of course, as an actual, in practice, example of bounded rationality. Some people knew more about the company and were able to make better decisions as to which different products were. Some people knew more about the products and knew about the way the products were developing. Different organisations, different members of the groups had different agencies that allowed them to discuss it. This is a very important lesson when using all these models, and we're using all the things that we discussed in the previous seminar and some of the late lectures. The interaction in a dynamic environment, and which we'll look at further in evolutionary economics, shows that some decisions are made within bounded rationality. Sometimes people's bounded rationalities overlap, but people have different boundaries to their knowledge and the limits of their knowledge, which means that to a certain extent it can simply be the level of your knowledge that allows whether or not you make the right decision on markets, and the outcome of a Boston Consulting Group matrix done by various people can be very different. This in itself isn't a problem if people recognise this, and then allow the debate to continue looking at the cash flows and the earnings and how you're going to react to it. If, however, you insist that the matrix gives all the answers, then of course you'll be in problems. So what do we say? Well, basically a dog, earnings are low and unstable, and therefore the cash flow can be neutral or negative. However, although the general thing is to harvest or divest, harvest would simply mean that, say, that maybe it might be neutral or positive, so you may let it run for quite some while. But you will not market it, you will not provide funds for advertising, you will not support the product. That is why the product is known as a dog, because it has no possibility for growth. However, some of these commodities can be quite profitable. There are hedge funds that are run completely on dogs. And like I said, a good example of that is something like a PC desktop. No one markets or advertises PC desktop these days. They are bought by large companies, large organisations, perhaps universities. But they are bought low profit per individual unit, so they have a low earnings. But also they actually have a large market. A lot of them are bought. It might be low profit per unit, but if you sell a lot of units, you can make money off it. Another product is a cash cow. A cash cow is the other end of the line. It's at the same end of the life cycle as a dog, but it's been a successful one. So it's a product that is probably in decline, but it's a product that you have a high relative market share, but of course there's low market growth. But because you're actually selling quite a lot, you've got a good high stable cash flow. So the strategy here normally is to hold, but you may actually make an attempt to expand it. You may attempt to expand your market share, but reality is this is a product that's generating the cash. So you can sit in a portfolio of other products and you can use the money for research and development or marketing to develop the two questions that are at the top end of the thing. Where you have a high market growth and you already have a high relative market share, the reality is that although this sounds like a star, the cash flow of these is often neutral. The reality of this, of course, is that we're talking about products that require a lot of marketing support, possibly a lot of research and development to keep them going. But their earnings are stable and they are growing. What you're hoping to do, of course, eventually is move a star into a cash cow. So you'll build market share, and although you may at the end, when the market growth ceases, when the market becomes solid and solidified, you can actually start to harvest the money. So you hold it for the moment, maybe invest it a little bit for growth, and it probably the cash flow neutral but positive. A question mark is a product in which you have quite a lot of market growth, but your relative market share is low. The simple thing is called a question mark. You need to make a decision. Do we put more money into this question mark? If we do, are we looking to grow it, turn it into a star, and eventually into a cash cow? Therefore, if you believe you have the capability to grow as the market grows, to take a higher market share, then of course you invest money into it. If, however, you feel that actually there's no potential, no matter how much money you invest in it, that others have got the drop on you, other people take the new market shares that comes across as the market grows, therefore your sensible option to say, well, we're still selling a few of these, let's withdraw our funding, let's stop marketing it, let's stop research and development, let's see if it settles down into a dog and earns us some cash for a while, and then we can exit the market, maybe sell it to the hedge funds that specialise in this sort of product, and maybe withdraw completely.